Hey, what's up guys, I'm Praetorian and welcome back to HOI4 as we were playing as India. So in the last episode I asked you guys how you felt about me using the console to try and fix the problem with the Indian Civil War, or whether you thought we should just go ahead and end the campaign since we don't know that anything I do with the console would actually fix anything, because from my understanding based on the comments from viewers, the Civil War can still fire by event even if we were to refuse to take this here focus. I ended up being quite surprised with the feedback because I expected it to be overwhelmingly in favor of using the console and continuing the campaign, because that's typically what happens whenever I ask if we should continue the campaign or not, usually because we're done with the war and the question is, are we going to continue the campaign into another war? And typically in those cases everybody wants to continue the campaign. You only have like a few viewers who want to start a new one. However, in this case it was kind of neck and neck. There was only one more viewer that was in favor of continuing the campaign over ending it, and then there's probably about an equal number to either of those that didn't really care what we did and said, whichever I would prefer to do, that they would be fine with either option. However, out of the ones that wanted to continue the campaign, there did seem to be some confusion over several aspects. So the first one was that people thought that once I made us communists using the console, that would bypass this focus here and then allow us to get some of our best focuses. One comment was very much in favor of making sure we're able to get these focuses since they were some of our best ones. And so they're like, oh yeah, let's use the console so we can bypass this and then get our best focuses, because they wanted us to be able to get those in this campaign. Because I mean it's a pretty bad focus tree overall, and then to not be able to get some of the best ones is obviously negative. But that does not get bypassed, guys. I thought I had made that clear that we wouldn't be able to go for the Indian People's Army at all. We just have to leave it alone, because it is not bypassed. You can see there's no bypass, and I've tested this several times where I made us communists and let it play for a while, and it still doesn't bypass it. So there's no bypass to this. So if we use the console, we're not getting these focuses. We will not be able to get them, unfortunately. There also seems to be a bit of confusion about what causes the Civil War. So I was saying that it was due to us being independent, and maybe that is it. It could also be what some other viewers have said. It's from not having gotten either of these focuses, because you just bypassed them and you didn't actually get them, and that you need to get those focuses for it to work properly. I'm not entirely sure. I'm basing this solely off of your guys' responses and your experience with this focus tree, which you have many of you guys have far more experience than I do. I've only played India one time before this, like fully played them, and that was years and years and years ago. It was not that long after the DLC came out. So I haven't played them in a long time. And so I'm going mainly off of your guys' experience. And several people told me that's due to not getting these focuses, bypassing them, and that's what's causing a civil war. I'm not entirely sure. But if that's the case, then what some people suggested to try and fix it is we could just make ourselves a subject of the UK again, and then fire the Civil War, where it should hopefully work as it's supposed to, and then allow us to get the focuses and all that. But yeah, several viewers have told me that doesn't work, because I actually proposed that to one guy who had a bit more experience and was telling me about this when I first learned of the problem. And he was telling me that it was due to not having gotten these focuses, so even if we did make ourselves a subject again, it still wouldn't work properly. Again, I'm not entirely sure. The point is some people were thinking, we should continue the campaign using the console because they were under the belief that there would be certain things we could do to still be able to get these focuses, which I don't think will be the case. I was thinking we would just not get them. So due to that several people were confused what all we'd be able to do if we did use the console, and the fact that it wasn't so close, surprisingly, with how many people supported ending the campaign, how many wanted to continue, and then there are so many people who didn't care either way and that would support either direction we went. I think we will go ahead and end the campaign with this video. We will be finishing the war with Siam, though. I'm trying to finish it if we can get it done in this episode. You'd think so, especially if we can do a few things to fix the supply there. See, I just hate that it's buggy and we're having to use console, and then we don't ever know that this is going to be fixed, period. Because if this can happen in my event, the Civil War can happen in my event, then there might not be any way to avoid it. And thus we'll be sitting with that on our back the whole campaign, wondering if a civil war is going to fire and destroy all of our units. Honestly, I'm just really disappointed because I've been looking forward to an India campaign for a long time, and it's just been kind of it's just been disappointing, very disappointing. The focus tree and the bugs. So It's unfortunate, not the way I wanted to go down, but because there were so many people in support of ending it, that's what we're going to do. We're going to end it and start a new one. As the United Kingdom, since, that was the second place position in the patron vote, the UK almost won, in fact. So that's the route we're going to go. We're going to do a United Kingdom playthrough. And as far as what we're going to do with that campaign, we'll talk about it at the end of this video. Let's finish up the war with Siam first, and then we'll talk about what we're doing next, which will be important because I'm going to ask you guys, what your guys' opinion on a certain matter is. But let's get this done here first. And the first thing we're going to do is build a railway from here to that supply hub we captured. And I think the quickest way to do it would just be go through here. Now, I did forget to do that, and if we had done it earlier, it would have helped us in this area. However, that supply hub is actually just as far from the front line as this supply hub is, so it's probably not going to help much. It might help us up here a little bit in the northern area. I think that'll help supply there. For the most part, this isn't going to make a huge difference, I don't think. I guess we'll see once we have it built there. But yeah, I did forget to do that. I posted that in the pinned comment last episode. Yeah, I just completely neglected getting that actually connected. But it would have helped us up here, I think. And maybe it'll help us down here. I guess we'll see. So yeah, they're attacking us over this way, and the supply is what's making this take so long. I think a lot of people have been surprised, as I had, at how difficult the war here in Siam has been. And that's because of the supply. They have a lot more units than we do as well, more than I was anticipating. But I don't think that it's anything specifically with Siam or anything they're actually doing here that's causing us issues. It's just the supply. I mean, the supply is so bad here. And so I think that's what the problem is that we don't have any supply. And supply is critically important in this game. Now, with the no step back expansion and all that, the expansion in the patch is added. I guess most of it's in the patch. I don't think we're going to get there in time. But yeah, it's now an incredibly important aspect of the game. We're going to try and get across here. I don't know if that's going to work, though. We've been trying to get across this river here for some time. Really, all that matters, though, is taking Bangkok. And I actually would love for them to go across here because there'd be less divisions there. So what we might want to go ahead and do is let them win there. Let's try attacking here and see if that's a win. No, that's not. Let me try again here. No, there's just too many divisions there with the 5 divisions protecting Bangkok. Now they have gotten over here, but we've gotten over here. Let's go ahead and could just wait till they, well, it's going to take them a long time. I was going to say we could just wait till they get over here and then we can get them cut off there. Now we're just going to grab this province then, if we can get there before this unit. Now we do move a lot faster than them, for the most part, even with our supply issues. We do have a free military factory. Let's go and put this into infantry equipment. That's what we're going to focus on, just trying to get some of our shortages dealt with. Still trying to take out that unit there. We need a front here to make sure this guy stays here. Let's go ahead and go this way, get this province taken first, and then we'll destroy him. And he'll go over and grab this province for us. We got those 3 units trying to take out that one guy there. Yeah, just taking Bangkok, I think, is enough to win the campaign, or to win the war. So we'll work on getting that, but we got to wait until those 5 divisions left, and there are only 2 remaining. So let's try and do this attack now with our incredibly weak units. Good God, they're so weak. We're even going to try attacking across the river here, just to kind of add a little bit of a boost here. And we're going to send this guy in there as well. Can't get across that river any longer, but we might have to keep it going because it does look like they're going to try and cut us off here. Yeah, we will not get there in time. So we will have to continue the attack here, unfortunately, just so they don't cut us off. While we wait for this one division to get over there. Just in a matter of days here. Alright, so we could continue pushing forward, but we're very close to getting cut off, so might as well just keep it as is. In fact, we might as well go and attack down here, because we failed the attack across the river, and thus they would get there before us. We're at 4 days and 3 hours. Can't see when they're getting there. But yeah, we're going to need to pay attention to that. Make sure this unit's able to get over there in time. In fact, we're going to attack with... No, he can't reach there. So that's not going to work. They defeat us there, so I guess it's irrelevant, isn't it? 2 days and 18 hours. When's he retreat over here? 20 hours, yeah. So it doesn't matter anyway. Yeah, we can keep the attack going there, but you see they're sending everything they got here to stop us from taking Bangkok. Because, again, I think we would end up winning the campaign at that point. I don't know if I should be sending all these troops over here since supply is in a horrible position, which I built this railroad and I never actually put it up at the top. Yeah, we should have focused on that, obviously. Alright, so we just wait for the rest of these units to get over here. Let's take just 2 of them. I think will be enough. Yeah, 2 should be enough here, guys. So just take the rest of these guys, put them up here so they can further exhaust supply. Alright, so we are losing there. Yeah, they might push us back across the river, but all that's pretty much irrelevant. All we have to do here is win in Bangkok, and then it's over. I think. Now, they might still be in the fight. That's the majority of their victory points, I think, though. So we take in Bangkok. Let's take a look and see. Yeah, we're at 100% now. These are the casualties. 27.4 thousand casualties for us. 260,000 for them. So obviously a very good kill-death ratio. However, I did mention last episode that the losses haven't been very heavy because, you know, 20,000 losses, 27,000 losses is not bad for what you're getting here. That's pretty good, honestly. But that does not include the losses from attrition, which are likely very, very high. I'm sure we took very high casualties from the attrition. So we did defeat them, and they actually had equipment left. They had more equipment than we did, didn't they? Yeah, they were doing pretty good on equipment compared to us, where we were having some serious equipment issues. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and take all states here and end it. And so yeah, not too difficult to fight there, and we didn't even need the rails connected here. And we were still able to get it because, as I said, Bangkok was really all we needed to do there. And so I could have won it much earlier, but I was trying to keep it going so that we were able to change up our mobilization to war economy. But we didn't have the war support high enough, so I was waiting on getting it up to 50%. Of course, now it's higher. We're not at war anymore. But yeah, I was waiting to get it to 50% so we could take advantage of the war and change over to war economy. So we could have ended it before that. We just needed to take Bangkok, and that was pretty much it. But yeah, that gives us these states here, which is 19 rubber and 5 tungsten. Not great in that area, of course, but you are getting 2 military factories and 4 civilian factories here. But over here, you know, in addition to the 3 factories in the dockyard you're getting, which I guess the dockyard's kind of a big deal because we only have 1, so we just increased our dockyards by 100%. Just doubled our dockyard numbers. But yeah, this gives us 80 rubber. So rubber will no longer be an issue in this campaign between the rubber we already had and the 80 and 19 you have here. We should not have any more rubber issues. Not that we're having rubber issues. So that would help out us and our faction because they'll be able to trade for that rubber, not to give us civilian factories. But that would also allow us to get fronts on 2 important areas. You know, we could have attacked into Singapore here, the Malayan Peninsula, taking control of this and all the resources here, which just tremendous number of resources located in this area. And so we could have taken that from the British. I highly doubt it would have been well defended. Maybe. It's hard to say what the British are going to do. I expect that they would be more involved in the war here in the Americas and helping out against the European communists. It's hard to say exactly, though, what they would be doing. But I expect they'd be in this area. But maybe they defend their stuff properly, but again, probably not. So we'd probably take that, and then we'd have a front here, which would be going behind the Japanese, who are currently focusing on invading further into China, you know, now from their southern front. And so we could likely come behind the Japanese and take over into China, and that's even more resources here, more rubber. And so we could take that from the Japanese, and that would have been key. And, just taking Siam lets us do both of those. This is a huge front. Obviously, supply would be a massive problem here, so it would take us a long time to get it fixed. We'd have to build supply hubs, but we do have that one decision, one of the few unique things I don't even know if this is unique, honestly. Yeah, other countries could have this. I don't think I've seen any countries have it, but yeah, there might be other countries. Maybe it's something that minor countries have. Maybe only India has it. I don't know. But I've only seen it so far with India, but I've also only played France in the Soviet Union so far, so maybe it's not unique to them. But the point is that we could use it to build 3 supply hubs very quickly, or much quicker than usual anyway. And we would build those in this area. We'd probably put one down here to supply the troops invading into Malaysia, and then we'd have to put, more than likely have to put one here, I would assume. Yeah, you'd have to put one over, you have that one, but you got to put one over here somewhere, I think. Yeah, I think we would put one over there. This one could kind of supply this area. It would do okay, I suppose. But yeah, you definitely want to have one up along here somewhere. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure where, maybe right there, right here or something, to supply all the troops invading into Indochina. So you'd put one there, and then maybe one over here somewhere for invading into Afghanistan or Iran. I mean, you got a couple over here for Afghanistan. In fact, I think you're probably good for Afghanistan. Maybe one up over here, though, might be helpful. Now, I'm not entirely sure where exactly you'd need the third one. You could also put a third one over here, I suppose. That'd be an option, but it lets you build 3, so you'd want to make sure that you're able to build 3 of them and take advantage of that 300% modifier that you get there, and get some supply hubs placed. So that's what we would have done, and then we would have gone to war with the fascists, took over this territory here. We'd have done a naval invasion, but that could have been difficult because we wouldn't have controlled the seas. But who knows what would have happened in time as we built like a little submarine fleet up, had some bombers helping us out against the British and Japanese fleets. Honestly, it'd be kind of difficult to get enough control here to do little naval invasions. It's hard to say. It depends on how much they focus their fleets over here. But the goal would eventually, of course, would be to take all of their territories over here. So they wouldn't have any ports at all in the area. So yeah, we would do that, but that'd probably be a later game thing. But after we took over this territory here, and maybe even have to help in China, or maybe even fight in China if Japan has won the war at that point, then we'd have to do a lot of fighting over here against the Japanese so they can't invade our territory. But that would probably be largely defensive because we have this really good terrain here with the rivers and the mountains. We could build some forts up and really exhaust the Japanese, maybe up along our front. So you have this point here. I can't get through here at all, and so it'd probably be like from here to the coast would be our front, somewhere around here, behind a river, in mountains, and build forts up. Or maybe it would be like a forest in this area that you'd be having your divisions in. But yeah, you could go up along this river or whatever, and then just sit on the defense and let the Japanese kind of exhaust themselves. You probably wouldn't be able to advance because you'd have to protect your ports. We'd have to have a lot of defensive troops protecting ports from invasions from both the Japanese and the British. And so we have all these ports that we'd have to protect. So be very defensive for a little while in this area, protecting ports, and up here on this front with Japanese-held China. And then over here, we'd likely go on the offense. I don't know if we'd go after Afghanistan. They don't really have a lot of stuff here worth getting, and it's a difficult fight because it's in the mountains, so it's probably not worth it. So we'd probably just go into Iran for the oil, which we'd actually need, considering the fact that the Soviets aren't really open for trade anymore. And so yeah, we're not getting any oil over here in these conquests. So oil could become an issue, and thus we can get that from Iran, and that would also create a land border with the Soviets so that we can bring troops into there. Because as of right now, all these countries would not be willing to give us access so we can bring troops. And then we can help out, and this would probably be where half of our army is. Half of it would be focused on defense of the ports in this front here. And then, later we'd start doing naval invasions, but that would probably be much later in the campaign. While the other half would be focused on invading Iran, and then from there, helping out our allies up on this front and in Turkey. It's just a question of, if we could get there in time or not. Really hard to say. But yeah, that would be kind of the goal if we had continued this series. It would have been hard, long fight, likely, because the fascists are incredibly powerful. British and the Germans gel really well together, with the Germans, dominating on land, the British dominating on the sea, both of them having massive air forces, typically. And so yeah, they just are very, very powerful together. And then they also have Italy on top of that, which, not as good as either of them, but does help, does provide some assistance. And sometimes the Italians do really good in HOI4. It happens from time to time. We see the Italians perform very nicely as an ally. So you put them all together and then give them a bunch of other minor countries, and yeah, they're gonna do really well. So I think the problem here wasn't the way the factions were set up. I mean, we wanted a powerful fascist faction. The problem was that the war started so early, and that was another big disappointment for me when it comes to this campaign, is that the war was started by the Italians invading into Yugoslavia, like really early, 1938. And I was expecting the war to start on time, at the very least, 1939, if not 1940, but I was thinking 1939. I wasn't sure, though, because of Poland, because I was thinking that the Polish would be in the German faction, and therefore that wouldn't start the war. Unless you don't have the European democratic countries that are like guaranteeing any country that Germany wants to attack, you don't have that happening. But Yugoslavia, I think, has several countries starting out that are guaranteeing it, so I think that's where the issue came with Yugoslavia. And it just resulted in the war starting before it was supposed to, which is very unfortunate because the Soviet Union had the Civil War, and they needed to recover from it, and that takes time. So the Soviets are having to fight the war well before they're ready. Like, at least a couple years before they're ready. Because remember, the Soviets, while World War II usually starts in 1939 in HOI4, maybe 1938 sometimes, with the Soviet Union, it typically doesn't start until around its historical year, around 1941. So they'll have, after the war starts, like 2 years to kind of build up and get ready for it. And they didn't have that. And so that resulted in it being a much more difficult fight for the communists than it was designed to be because the war started so early. So that was another kind of disappointment for the campaign, is the war started too early. And so we're over here still trying to deal with our domestic issues and trying to conquer Siam. And the rest of our faction, their future faction, are over here fighting for their lives. So that was another unfortunate aspect, and one that did play a role in me deciding to end the campaign here. Is that, it wasn't the only issue. The war started so early. Things like that happen in a campaign, and usually it's not that big of a deal, but you just stack all the issues on top of each other, and then, problems with the Civil War and all the issues with that, and just kind of stack them onto each other, and then it becomes a problematic campaign. So, again, this is, I think this might be, is this the first time we've ended a campaign due to an issue? I'm not entirely sure. I can't recall any series. There might have been some. Yeah, you'd think there'd be some series, but I just can't think of it. But it's not something we typically do. It's pretty rare that I ever end a campaign because of some problem in the campaign. Normally, we just, if we have to, we'll fix it with the console, or we just continue with things as are. That's typically the strategy I take. We just deal with it. So if you're new to the channel, this is not something I typically do. I don't usually just end campaigns. But we are going to be ending it. We're going to be starting a campaign as the United Kingdom. As for which route we'll be going on their focus tree, I believe I mentioned this in the Soviet series at the end of it, the two different directions I was considering going here. And it's the same. Either we can go with the concessions of the trade union and do the communist route, or do the King's Party route. Those are the two I was looking at. And I think we're going to do the King's Party, guys. And the reason for that is because we just played the Soviet Union, a communist country. And then even though this series is obviously only 6 videos long, and we haven't actually become communists yet, it was intended to be a communist series. So since we kind of played as 2 communist countries back to back, or intended to, we're going to go and do the King's Party route. Also, I've always wanted to do this route as well. I've never done this before, off camera or on camera. Since the British have gotten a new focus tree, the only route we went was that fascist series, which that was years ago. It was over 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, something like that. And that was the last time we played as the United Kingdom. So that's a big reason why I have them on the Patron Bowl, because it has been a while. So that was the last route we went. We've already played a democratic one as well. And so yeah, I think that these were the 2 natural routes, and out of those 2, I haven't done this one at all. And so I think we'll do this, the King's Party route. But as far as how we're going to have the rest of the countries set up around the world, that I haven't decided, and that's what I'd like your guys' input on. Now, I had one possible plan we could do, but this is not locked in or anything. What we could do is just have like a Return of the Monarchies series, something I've always talked about doing. I know we've done one series where we had some countries set to monarchies, but I don't think we've ever done like where all the countries have gone back to monarchies before. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong if we've ever done that. But I want to say that we haven't. And so I think that would be interesting. So we got the British, who are already a monarchy. They start out as a constitutional monarchy, but we're restoring power to the monarch, giving more power to the monarch, and then making it so he's not just a figurehead when we go on this route of their focus tree, their King's Party. So The British are going that route, and then you can have the French also go with one of their 3 monarchist routes, because they have 3 of them. And then you have the Germans. They can restore the Kaiser, and in that focus tree, they have the option to making Italy a monarchy, since the Italians still have that old focus tree that doesn't do stuff like that, and so the Germans have to do it. But you can have the Hungarians form Austria-Hungary, and then they'll be a monarchy. The Germans also have a focus for doing that, I think, when they're going down their monarchist route. With the Turks, you could have them go down the Ottoman route, though that does take them a long time to get through that one. That focus tree is very long for them. It takes them a while to get all the way down it. So yeah, it's like way down here. So that one does take the AI a long time to get through. But you can have them go the Ottoman route. You can have the Soviets go with the Tsar. And of course you have the Iberian countries, which have, they have monarchist routes on their focus tree too. Though the Portuguese one never works out because the Civil War, they always fire it way too early. And so they're not able to win the Civil War. And almost always the fascists win whenever you set Portugal to go the monarchist route. I've only seen them be successful once, and that wasn't in a Let's Play. That was in a off-camera series. But that's the only time I've ever seen Portugal be successful on their monarchy route, but you can still set them up to do it, I suppose. Maybe we'll get lucky. You have the non-aligned route over here with the Japanese as well. And then with the Americans, obviously they do not have a focus for going with a monarchy. However, they do have an interesting direction here when they go communist. Let me see if I can find it here. End monarchism, and then shatter the empires. And so this is an interesting one because it results in them getting a war goal against any country that is identified in the game as a monarchy. So in this case, they get one against the British and one against the Japanese, because the Japanese are, even as fascists, still have their emperor. But if we were doing like a return of the monarchy route, then I suppose we'd go with the non-aligned route, which I think would be interesting because that route results in them going to war against the Russians. And so I think that'd be kind of cool. Now the Russians struggle to fight on their eastern front, particularly trying to fight on both fronts if that ever happens to them. But they could get a little bit of assistance by having Manchukuo, go against the Japanese to betray them and try and go for independence, which is a route on their focus tree they can go. And I believe they're the only Chinese country, I might be wrong on that, maybe one of the warlords do, but I think they're the only Chinese country that can kind of really go the imperial route, the imperial China route, for historical reasons. And so, yeah, they could try and go into China and conquer the other Chinese states. What we'd do with that is, since Japan shouldn't be attacking China any longer, is have China go their alternate route where they try and unify all of China. And so you can have a big old war here in China where the nationalists are attempting to conquer all the warlords and communist China. And then you have Manchukuo, who then rebels and they become like Imperial China. Then they can invade, and you have this big old war in China on top of the Japanese and the Russians fighting over here. So that could be hectic and interesting to watch, I think. So yeah, do that over there. And then I was saying you'd have the United States go the communist route on their focus tree, so that through their civil war and all that kind of stuff. And then after that, maybe they'll kind of like be like a anti-monarchist country, and you'd see them trying to invade into Europe and fight the monarchies, including fighting us. Now, with us going on our King's Party route, that does result in the Commonwealth countries leaving the empire. And you have to do those wars where you reconquer them, and you have like the kind of like a little civil war start where you support the imperialist side. We've seen this in many campaigns before with the British. And that'll happen in Canada, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia. I don't know if there's an Indian option. There might be. You'd have to look on the focus tree, because I think it's a set. It might be. Let me just look before I say it, but it might be like a separate focus for each one. Well, here's Reclaim the Jewel and the Crown, so that's India. I don't know if that actually starts the Civil War, though. Yeah, I want to say that there's like a different... here's the Dominions one. And that unlocks the imperialist uprising decisions. So they're decisions that you do. Okay. So yeah, you'd end up having a fight, because I assume they'd all rebel against you and go independent. And so if you want to gain those countries back, you'd have to do that decision. So that requires us to fight in Canada, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, and India. And so a lot of people, what they really liked about this campaign is that it would show a different side of the supply game, where we'd be fighting in territories, that don't have large rail systems and lots of supply hubs. So you're gonna have a lot of supply issues and really have to build all that up and all the infrastructure up. And so people really wanted to see that. And I think that's the one thing that people were excited about with India and the new changes to the supply system. And they're saying how, like, two people in the comments say, that wouldn't be the case at the British. And I would disagree, because we're going to be fighting in areas that do have horrible supply. We're going to be fighting in India, for instance. And so I think there would be that focus on the supply network and in terrible areas that have, like, very low infrastructure and very rough terrain, and thus are just terrible to fight in. Africa, for instance, has never been an easy place to fight in, but I imagine, which I haven't actually done it yet in this patch, that it would be even more difficult to fight in now with the new supply system. I bet it's very challenging. And so I think playing as the British, we could end up having to fight in a whole bunch of areas with very, very low supply and many supply issues. So I think that will be a feature of that campaign. So you have all that, the British trying to reconquer the empire, us doing that. You have the craziness over here in Asia. And then you have the United States going communist and perhaps being, an anti-monarchy power. And so with all those elements to it, as far as what's going to happen in Europe, I have no idea how this would go down. I don't even know who would be fighting who. With everybody going monarchist, I couldn't tell you. I don't know who would attack who and who would be allied. And so that'd be interesting to see what exactly happens when you have all these monarchies here again, and seeing who would end up fighting who, how the factions would break down. So I'd like to see what happens there. So that'd be another interesting aspect of the campaign, is that Europe would be a little bit unpredictable for me, at least. Maybe I just don't know the monarchist focus trees enough to say where they're going to go and who they're going to attack. Like with the Germans, I know they are able to attack some countries, but they don't have quite as many war goals as they do as the Nazis. So it's difficult to say, for me anyways, which direction they'll go and who they'll ally with, because they don't even have to create the Central Powers. I think that's one route they can go. I think there's a couple different routes. But yeah, if they created the Central Powers, maybe you see Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottomans together. And so you get like a kind of like a World War I situation. Although I think Italy would also join that faction. So they would be in the Central Powers rather than in the Allies, as they were historically. They were historically in the Allies. But this would be kind of like a alternate scenario of them joining the Central Powers instead. So that's a possibility, one thing that can happen. But I don't know that that's the only way it can go down. I think there's a couple different routes it could go. So no matter what happens, I think it'd be pretty interesting in Europe. And then of course you have all the other events around the world too, which would be very much focused on as the British. So it'd be a more naval focused campaign. So that would also be another element to it. We haven't done a naval focused campaign since, the German one that we did had a little bit of a Navy stuff in it. That U.S. campaign started in December 2020 and ended, I think, in January or February of 2021. That was the last time I think we really had a naval-focused campaign. And so it'd be interesting to do that again, really focus on the fleets. So yeah, I think that's one route we can go, but I'm open to other suggestions. Just post those down in the comments below, how you'd want the rest of the countries to go, because we already know as the British, we're going to go with the King's Party. But what do you guys think about the other countries? Which route should Germany go? Obviously, Italy has to go fascist. Remember that they don't have any other routes on their focus tree, so they have to go fascist. Although, if Germany goes with the monarchy, then they can switch the Italians over to the monarchy. I don't know if anybody else can do that. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I know the British just ally with fascist Italy and their King's Party routes, and that could be one way we end up going, is we ally with the Italians. But I don't know if Austria-Hungary has anything with Italy. I want to say it does. And so yeah, the Italians might end up going monarchy if you put either of those two to monarchy. But other than that, they're stuck going fascist. But other than the Italians, who are so limited with their very old focus tree, other than the Italians, we can go pretty much any route. Just let me know what you guys are thinking, how you want the campaign to go, how you want the other countries to be set up. And we'll take a look at your guys' suggestions before we start that series. But I don't want to delay starting the series too much and so you're not going to have a whole lot of time to post your suggestions, guys. So you do want to make sure to go ahead and do that as quickly as possible. So this video will be coming out on Tuesday, and I'm intending to record on Thursday. That'll give you guys 2 days. 2 days to post comments and for me to look at those and put together the next campaign and how we're going to have the AI go. See, I don't want there to be too much of a delay. I think 2 days is already plenty enough of a delay since this campaign here was so short, with it only being 6 videos. I don't want to have like, a week in between this video here and the next series. So I'm going to record that on Thursday. So that'll give you guys 2 days to post comments before I record, and then the video will come out on Friday. And that'll be when our United Kingdom series will begin. And so we'll have a video on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I'll make sure to put a video out on Monday as well. I'll just have to record 2 on Saturday, 1 for Sunday and 1 for Monday, so that we'll have a Monday episode for that new series. So yeah, it'll start on Friday. It should be out around the typical time, which is sometime between 5 to 7 a.m. Mountain Time. I'm on Mountain Time here. And yeah, we'll do that King's Party route, and the way the rest of the world will be set up will, be partially dependent on what you guys post in the comments. So I'm looking forward to reading your guys' suggestions. Again, just make sure you do it within the next 48 hours or so. It might be a little bit longer than that. Yeah, because technically I'll record Thursday afternoon, so it's a little bit longer than 48 hours. I guess you have like 56 hours or 60 hours or something like that. But make sure you post within the next few days so that it'll matter, and that I'll be able to read it before we actually start that series. So I'm looking forward to reading your guys' comments, those suggestions for the next series. If you're looking for anything to watch while you wait for that to start, go check out the front page of our channel. We got 3,000 something videos all sorted by genre. Got a whole section just for the Hearts of Iron 4 series, where we've done like 30 something, maybe like 40 campaigns at this point. So you should be able to have something to watch while you wait the next couple days for the UK campaign to begin. If you're looking for any links, check out the description of any of our videos. You find links to our PayPal, Patreon, and Teespring store if you'd like to help support the channel. You also find a link to our Discord if you'd like to join our community. And finally, you'll find links to all of our social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff if you'd like to follow us on there. And if you enjoyed this short, bug-filled series of mostly reconquering our own territory, then make sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell, and leave a comment. Do hope to see you guys on that next video, which again will be coming out on Friday, and we'll be playing as the United Kingdom, or I suppose I should say the British Empire. We'll be playing as the British Empire. So I do hope to see you on that video, and thanks for watching, guys.